Hello everyone, this is Nemea Wantang and welcome back to Family Travel Africa. It is summertime, a lot of folks are traveling, and so I did a little bit of traveling myself. We just got back from about a 9-day trip where I visited three African countries along the coast, so West African countries. It was not exactly leisure, but I did learn some things, and so in this video I would like to share with you maybe the top 5 tips when traveling from country to country within the continent. Stay tuned. Everyone is wondering about COVID. It kind of felt like we got over it, and now it's back in the news again. Well, here's some news for you. Yes, as of last month, you do not need to test for COVID to come back into the US if you are fully vaccinated. Now, this changes when you're traveling internationally only because the airlines are requiring it. So please always double check beyond the country specific requirements. Look at the airline requirements. So for instance, in my case, going from Accra to Lome, I had to COVID test, and that was a requirement of A-Sky, the travel agency or airlines. And A-Sky is probably the most used or has the most frequent flights along the West African coast. And so you kind of want to look at that. And even with your vaccination card, you would present your vaccination card and then they would ask you for your COVID test. So, a lot of things are not exactly making sense sometimes to us, but you want to travel, you got to travel. You go ahead and look up the rules, you follow the rules, you get on with your travel and do what you got to do. And we are all at the point where we kind of know where to go for our COVID travel tests. So if you are doing any kind of travel, I do have some recommended COVID travel testing sites, and that would be specifically for countries that I have traveled to since COVID. So looking at Senegal, Ghana, Cameroon, Togo. You can definitely refer to our blog at www.familytravelafrica.com. Looking at these specific countries, I do list where to get your COVID test, and prices of testing has gone down tremendously, especially for a place like Ghana. I'm gonna put them on the spot because at one point it was $150 per person for one COVID test. Yes, and this was in the height of COVID in 2020 before we had the vaccine available. So from $150 US, it is all the way down now to about 300 Ghanaian cedis, and so you can do the conversion. It is tremendously cheaper compared to what it was before. So on to tip number 2. Typically, we get our visas from the US when we are traveling overseas for that country specifically. Now, if you have a travel agent, everything I just said, should be in the travel agent's hands. You should be able to get your COVID test, your visas, entry requirements and all that. But, a lot of us cannot get travel agents for every single country we're visiting. So if you are country hopping, consider the visa requirements for each country. There are African countries that do not require a visa. So Senegal is one of them. Morocco is another one of them. But if you're going to most, you will need a visa. And so I had my visa for Ghana. I was transiting through Togo. I had my visa for Cameroon. And most places you do not need a transit visa. If you're not leaving the airport, you should be fine. However, if you plan on going back the way you came, remember I would have needed a re-entry visa for Ghana. Now, The way around it, and what I typically do, is just get multiple entries in that time frame. So multiple entry visa tends to be cheaper than getting a visa on the spot as you're going back and forth, and actually hassle-free. So you can imagine how travel can be full of a hassle with COVID. And now you're on top of that trying to get a visa while you're transiting through, or just, in country for a couple of days. My advice: plan your trip out, get your multiple entries, and cruise through. Now, along with visa comes tip number 3. So tip number 3 is to check your currency exchange. And you can look at what the bank's rate is for your currency exchange, going from your US dollars to whatever the local currency is there. The airports typically have pretty good currency exchange. You don't have to worry about counterfeit, or but you have to look at those two rates and kind of decide which way you want to go. Fortunately for US travelers, the US dollar is still pretty strong, even though we are feeling the brunt of inflation right now at the pumps and at the grocery stores. But yes, the US dollar is still pretty strong when you're traveling overseas. And so you tend to get your money stretch out a little further for just the basic necessities of your travel. I know traveling for most folks between countries and the continent can be daunting, especially when every country is a little bit different in their requirements. It's not like going to a Eurozone and riding the train through Europe. It's each country has their own peculiarities. And so one of the take homes, or if it is possible, when you're hopping around, just like you would in Europe, you want to kind of go as light as possible. And that is, first of all, just to make it easier. Even when you start checking in bags, you start worrying, okay, do I have enough time in case my luggage gets lost, which, didn't get lost. It just got delayed for me going through Togo. But if you don't have a lot of time and you don't have 3 days to sit around and hope that your luggage makes it, you're moving on to the next trip, you probably want to pack light if you have a short stay, and that way you don't have to risk checking in bags and any complications with that. My final and 5th tip is just to stay flexible. We can always worry about, do I fit in, or will I be understood? Do I speak enough French or Portuguese or Spanish, Arabic? I think as an English speaker, you shouldn't have any issues. West Africa, you have a lot of English and French speaking countries, but everywhere I've gone, even for those who speak only English, it is not an issue. You should find, in this day and age, more people speak English than not. And actually, culturally, very friendly overall, and helpful, which is what you need when you're trying to get where you're going. And so to everyone out there, thanks for watching. I will tell you to always drop a like, share it. Good information should travel fast. And so I thank you for your viewership. Subscribe if you haven't already. I mean, you've been watching. We've been very fortunate to have kind of a boost in our subscription. I suppose folks are enjoying the content, and we appreciate that. Leave us some comments and questions. If there's specific questions that I can help answer with this kind of travel, what itinerary and specific details, I'm happy to help. As always, it's Nime, it's Family Travel Africa. We travel Africa, we learn about it, we share about it, and we enjoy it. So stay tuned. Until next time, goodbye.
I hope you like my video. Yes, you do. Subscribe. Share it, share it.